I was doing pretty good. I was lifting weights, was feeling all right. And then my boss, or my supervisor at the time, he sprayed trichloroethylene in my Coke.
Monty, how did you find Carnivore?
Uh, well, I found Carnivore. Short answer is Dr. Kim Berry. Uh, Found him and Anthony Chafee, and then I found you. I think you were the third person I found. But that's the short answer. And the long answer, I'll go all the way back. I was born in 1957, and my parents divorced when I was like 3 years old. So, and I lived with my two older brothers. And in the 60s, we didn't have much food. And the food we did have was like peanut butter and jelly, or we'd have some cornflakes or bread, or you might get a barbecue sandwich or a hamburger for supper, maybe a hot dog. So, and we were pretty active. We swam and rode our bikes and climbed trees. So I never really had a weight problem or anything. And then 70s come around, and we were, by that time, was eating TV dinners and everything, just standard American diet. I've always been interested in, this will make sense later on, interested in philosophy, and I always believed in God, and I was interested in religions, so I studied a bunch of religions. And I like martial arts, because I always had to fight my brothers or the neighborhood or somebody we were always fighting. And I had the sugar and the junk food. That makes you pretty angry. So I always had like anger problems, or, neighborhood I grew up in. And then, but I always liked weightlifting and bodybuilding, stuff like that, but I never had any food really. So until I, in the 70s, finally went into the Marine Corps, and finally had some food. I think I was about 150 pounds when I graduated, and I gained like 20 pounds in boot camp and grew 3.5 inches because I had some food, I guess. I don't know. Oh, yeah. And then in the 80s, got a job and started eating. I was like wanting to put on some weight, so I started like the bodybuilders. They were like, eat grains and oats and, eat 6 times a day and all that. So for the next 7 years, I went from 170 pounds to 100 or 240 pounds. So I gained 10 pounds a year, and I was doing pretty good. I was lifting weights, was feeling all right. And then my boss, or my supervisor at the time, he sprayed trichloroethylene in my Coke, and I drank that, and ended up with, I turned yellow, and I was sick, thought I had the flu, and come to find out a couple years later that I'd had hepatitis B, and a couple years after that, I figured that they found out that I had a pituitary tumor. And all that was, I don't know, at the time I was eating all those carbs. And of course, my whole life I've ate junk food. I was having insulin resistance. I was probably pre-diabetic even then, especially as much as I was eating. I'd have bananas and oats for breakfast with some orange juice. And then I'd go to work, and they'd have donuts, and I'd eat some of them, and then go out to lunch and have a Whopper and some fries and a Coke. And then, basically I was eating all I could eat because I was trying to gain weight. But then I ended up, after I drank that that it's engine degreaser is what it was. And, but I don't know if it was my liver, the hepatitis. I don't know if it was from the sugar, or the degreaser or whatever, probably a combination of both. In the 90s, I was sick, angry, still but I was pretty strong. And in 2000, I was still angry and sick, but I was still pretty strong. But I wasn't healthy. Looked healthy, but I wasn't healthy. And then I started getting like the man boobs, and my stomach was sticking out, and I had the fatty liver, and then in 2011, I guess I don't know how old I was then. It's probably 50. My son was in a car crash, and he got killed in 2011 in January. So then after that, I started drinking beer about every day, crying in my beer, and then so then I was just working, drinking beer. So I was staying still pretty healthy, but I got up to 250 pounds, is the heaviest I got, but I was still pretty good shape. But then I started just turning to blubber after that pretty much. And then I was just working. I lost some weight. I was doing different things. I was competing in some judo and different things. But I noticed when I was when I first got that brain tumor, and all my health problems started with the hepatitis. I also had sexual dysfunction, hit and miss. I went from 100% down to maybe 50%. So I dealt with all that for probably 30 years. And then Meredith, my wife, we were together 18 years. I've been married 3 times, twice before. And actually the first 2 wives, I think it was because of my illness that I ended up going through a divorce with them. And then Meredith, she died on my birthday in December of 2022. And we had been, both of us, just drinking, and she smoked cigarettes too. And she ended up dying of a heart attack. And then, so I drank for about from, I don't know, a dozen years or so. And then when she died, I quit drinking, and I was pretty depressed. So I just fasted. I just didn't want to eat, didn't really want to be alive so I just didn't eat for a while. I didn't eat for 7 days, but I was wanting to detox my liver. So I started that in January of 23. I didn't eat for 7 days and just drank water, trying to detox my liver. And actually, my sex drive came back from the fasting. I guess maybe I detoxed something. And my brain tumor that I had, I took medicine for that, but the medicine, they wanted me to do chemo. And I had a pituitary tumor. It's right in the middle of your head. So it was a prolactinoma. So it messed up your pituitary, controls a lot of your hormones. So all my hormones were out of whack. They had me on medication and I was like, well, I'll just take the medication. I didn't want to do the surgery or take the chemo or the radiation. They want to do all that. And I was just like, well, I'm going to die. And then my insurance company stopped paying for the medication that shrank the tumor down. My levels, they were supposed to be at 15, and mine was at 3,000. And the medicine eventually over a few years brought my levels down to 100. So they were still about 10 times too high. But then my insurance stopped paying for it, and it was $1,000 a month for the drug. So I just well, I'll just die. I just went home. I was like, if God wants me, he knows where I'm at. And then I never went back to the doctor. And then after everything else, my son died, and drinking and still eating pretty much the standard diet. And one time we had, about 4 or 5 years ago, we went on a vegetarian diet, or we didn't want to eat animals, so we just ate eggs and salads and stuff like that. But when I was a kid, we just I liked meat, potatoes, maybe green beans or a head of lettuce, but I really wasn't much in vegetables, but I liked fruit. And the salads and stuff, I had lost weight on that. I was like 200 and maybe 30 pounds, and I'd got down to like 180 pounds on the vegetables or on the salads and eggs, and I was still getting enough eggs. But I've always had gut problems, especially when I was a kid. It was constipated, or in the military, it was always, I had food poisoning or cramps in my stomach. And then for the last 10 years, or I don't know, maybe, I don't know how long, but my stomach's always been messed up. And then I had, I didn't know it at the time, but it was type 2 diabetic. You know, I started noticing like 10 years ago, itchy all the time, have to get up and pee all night. That's where you, is when you know something's going wrong. My prostate was swollen. I had a fatty liver, diverticulosis every time I was crapping out blood, and then plus drinking, I had heartburn so bad at night that the beer would come out I'd wake up, I'd throw up every night for a few years. I mean, I was throwing up every night just so I can go back to sleep. And I think that's what probably saved me, because I was puking up all the sugar. I didn't realize that beer, it's got a glycemic index of 104, which is, I mean, sugar and Cokes are only like 60 or 70, but beer is really bad. And I was like, you know, I wasn't drunk. I was working, cutting down trees, digging ditches, and doing different things. So I stayed busy, and I still had the anger problems and everything else. So, and then after she died, after Meredith died, and after I fasted for a week, I was looking on YouTube. My daughter showed me how to use the YouTube. So I don't have TV, don't watch it. And everything they say on there is a lie anyway. I never did trust the doctors and the politicians and the news that much anyway. So the first guy I really run into was Dr. Steen Ekberg. He was an Olympian, but he's a chiropractor, but he's a nutritionist. And he's got some great videos on insulin. And with him, I started keto. He's more into keto, but he explains the insulin resistance. And I was figuring this stuff out. I was like, well, that's what's wrong with me, you know. And then I found Dr. Kim Berry. So I was keto for 4 months, started keto in January of 23. And then April of 23, I went carnivore. And I think, I don't know, you're about a year ahead of me or something. When did you start?
Yeah, I was June 22.
Yeah, so you're like a year ahead of me. I was April 23. So, and when I saw you, I was like, okay, you know. And then Dr. Kim Berry gave that BB&E challenge, bacon, butter, and eggs, beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. Then Anthony Chafee and his plants are trying to kill you, you know. I don't agree with everything they say, you know. I believe in creation and stuff, but the human body is so complicated. The more I learn from these doctors, I'll name some of them. Dr. Paul Mason, I learned from him about lectins and how lectins will bind to your insulin receptors and make you gain it'll activate your insulin to where it's elevated 5 times higher and it's elevated longer. So you gain 5 times as much weight if you eat your beans and rice and stuff without the lectins from the plants. And the fiber they did that test on a bunch of people, on 60-something people, and the people that didn't eat fiber, their diverticulosis, hemorrhoids, and all that went away. So I liked him. I liked Paul Mason, Dr. Robert Siwas. You probably know him. He's the carb addiction doctor. Now he eats some plants, but he's addicted to carbs, and everybody's addicted to carbs nowadays. Like heroin, it's like 10 times more addictive than anything. I think that's what it was with the beer. I don't think, I never really liked beer that much, but I think I was just addicted to the sugar. Every 20 minutes, I'm getting a sugar spike, and I was like, that's where the diabetes come from. Then I got gout in my feet. I couldn't hardly walk on my feet, or the bones in my feet were hurting. I had big old knots on my hand from where that sugar, it crystallizes, it damages everything as soon as it hits your blood. And now I learned that from Dr. Siwas. He's got his PhD as a liver specialist. He does liver transplants, and he was transplanting livers and found out he injected the liver with fat, protein, and the liver wouldn't become fat. And he was transplanting these livers. If they were fatty livers, they wouldn't transplant good. So he got his PhD figuring it out. They injected it with sugar, and boom, instantaneously turned to fat. So that sugar goes in, and processed food, it's already digested, so it goes straight to your liver, and your liver converts that into glycogen and stores it in your liver, and stores all the sugar into your muscles. And then anything in excess, it just turns to triglycerides. And then your liver makes the LDL and sends that off to your fat cells. And then the HDL, of course, brings the fats back. And the cholesterol, your liver makes cholesterol, makes 85% of all your cholesterol, and that's vitally important. So I learned a lot from him on the liver, and I was like, okay. And all these doctors had seen the same thing. It's the sugar, it's the fructose, it's the seed oils. It's the grains, the seed oils. And then Richard Smith, he was a European, I think, UK champion and European bodybuilding champion, natural, and he was diabetic, and I learned a lot from him. And then Robert Lustig, he taught me about fructose, how it damages your mitochondria, because fructose goes to your liver, and the glucose, your whole body can use that. And half of sugar is fructose, and 50% of it's glucose and fructose. And the fructose goes to your liver, and it robs your ATP off your liver cells, and then it breaks down into uric acid. And then if your uric acid levels go up, then your nitric oxide levels go down, which causes your vasodilation of your blood vessels, erectional dysfunction, and all that junk. So that's why the fructose is so bad, and that it's in everything, especially the high corn syrup fructose. So I don't think they want people having babies, for one thing. And the red meat's got all your zinc and iron, all your vitamins, all your amino acids, all your fatty acids. You can live on red meat. So I think that's why they don't want you eating that. They don't want you having babies. And then plus cholesterol, you need cholesterol for all your sex hormones. You need protein for your thyroid. And you need iodine. Glucose iodine's good. Unless you live around the ocean, eat a bunch of seaweed or something. But your cholesterol, all your sex hormones are made of cholesterol. And your liver's making it anyway, but the more you eat, your liver don't have to work as hard. And if you got a fatty liver, your body can't detox itself very good, and you keep estrogen. And so you end up with the man boobs again, and your sex drive goes down. So So when you fast or when you go on OMAD, 1 meal a day, you got all night long for that insulin to drop, and then your growth hormones shoot up and your testosterone goes up. So I had like that problem for like 30 years. And then when I'm 65 now, I feel like I'm 20 years old again. I'm like, that's a bunch of crap. Like everybody said, they wish they'd learned this 30 years ago. I probably could have saved some marriages and a bunch of pain and suffering. Plus, when I was 24, I ruptured 2 discs in my back. So I've always had back pain. It's like for 6 years, it was like a knife in my back, couldn't hardly walk. And then after that, I've lived with it for my whole life. And now I'll tell you some of the stuff that Carnivore's helped. Even when I was a kid, I had dandruff and stomach problems, I had some acne. And here lately, like ringing in my ear or always congested, couldn't breathe through my nose. Never been able to hardly breathe through my nose. Had asthma off and on since I was a kid from the crappy diet, I'm pretty sure. Of course, I told you I had fatty liver, and I don't know what caused brain tumor and stuff, but they say if your liver's messed up, it messes up your neurotransmitters and makes your brain produce prolactin. And I had a prolactinoma, so I don't know if it was a liver or the degreaser or whatever.
All of those things that you just listed, from the dandruff to the fatty liver, that's all resolved?
Everything went away. I had a little bit of fungus on my toenail, under my toenail, not much. My girlfriend or my wife, she had it too, but we were both diabetic and we really didn't know it, So our sugars, we were both scratching and up peeing all night and trying to pee out all the sugar. But I also had like some athletes, some cracks in my toes, and she had real flaky skin on her heels of her feet. And we were both overweight and we drank way too much, everything. But yeah, everything's cured. I wouldn't even I would never make this video. I wouldn't even talk on the phone. Oh no, I wouldn't even answer the phone. I wouldn't answer the phone, or usually didn't go anywhere. And when the COVID hit, I never wore a mask. I never got tested, never went anywhere, never got sick. I wasn't never sick. I always be throwing up. I was figuring I was drinking beer a lot. I had acid reflux. But I felt pretty good, really. But I wasn't healthy. I was in shape pretty much, but I wasn't medically healthy. Let's see. I went down I was probably 220. And when I lost probably 10, 15 pounds when I didn't eat for a week. Then I went on to keto, and I was eating these huge salads and using olive oil with some apple cider vinegar and eggs. I was eating from Steen Ekberg, just like broccoli and salads and pecans without the seed oils, maybe some, and everything carnivore, fish, chicken, eggs, cheeses. And then when I found Ken Berry and started Carnivore, well, I gave up the set. Well, what happened is, before, my stomach issues never went away on the keto. So, and then I ate these huge salads, and they were saying that the olive oil, virgin olive oil, that the mafia was putting seed oils in that. So I couldn't trust that. And I watched how they make them seed oils in a hexane solvent bath and a deodorizer and bleach. And I'm like, and that stuff causes oxidation throughout your whole body and it's destroying everything. And the cigarettes, knock holes in your veins, and the sugar doing all the damage, and they're blaming it on the cholesterol. It's like blaming a firefighter, like they say, for being at every fire. The cholesterol, your body's takes the LDL. They say, well, LDL is causing the plaques, but LDL can't get through your endothelial cells, the inner lining of your blood vessels. It's too big. It just drops off the cholesterol and patches up all the holes from the inflammation. You always have inflammation, and then you got repair. You work out, then you build muscle. You smash your finger, and then it heals. But if you keep smashing your finger or cutting your hand every day, it'll never heal. And that sugar, it gives you chronic inflammation throughout your whole body. And the seed oils and the fructose are damaging your mitochondria. I learned this stuff from Dr. Lusting. He on the fructose. And then that stunts your growth as you're a kid. My brother, he's 6'7". My other brother's real big, but they were eating all the food, and they ate all the chicken and the meat, I guess. Left me with apples and bananas or something. And then your mitochondria getting damaged from the sugar. At a cellular level, your cells are using 4 times as, I think it's called NADH plus, and you only have so much of that. And when you burn carbohydrates, you burn 4, and when you burn fat, you only burn 1. So you're actually aging 4 times quicker on the sugar. That's another reason they want everybody on sugar, I guess, to kill you off a little earlier. But
how are you eating these days? Like, are you doing OMAD, TUMAD, and what are the meals made up of?
Well, now I just eat. Pretty much I like ribeyes, and I like steak and eggs. It's pretty much what I eat now. The hamburgers, trust that a little bit. The chicken, it seems to inflame me because whatever they're feeding the chickens, and the eggs. If I get Kroger eggs, I'll get the arthritis will come back. The autoimmune, the leaky gut from I guess the soy, and the soybean stuff stays in your body for a couple of years. It's hard to get rid of that or get rid of the fat. The eggs, I like eggs. I like scrambled eggs, well, with butter. Cook everything in butter or in the bacon. You know, I don't know what they're feeding the pigs. Over in Europe, they got a lot better pigs and stuff. I did eat the bacon at first. It was a good snack just to keep from being hungry. And at first I was just eating 1 meal a day to try to get my insulin resistance down and to keep my insulin down. And if I eat 3 or 4 times a day, even on meat, my body through gluconeogenesis would just turn that to sugar, and then my cells wouldn't take it. So I'd be itchy again, or I had neuropathy in my toes too. So that's going away. Most of that's gone. I've had blurry eye vision. My eyes would bleed. If I eat like 3 times a day, my eye will bleed again. So I'm like, well, I'm still spiking. My body's turning the protein into sugar through gluconeogenesis. If I have too much protein, if I don't triage it into my muscles, or probably 1 meal a day would be better. But here lately, I've been, I usually skip breakfast, and I'll eat lunch and I'll eat dinner. And I drank coffee for the first year. I finally gave up coffee like 4 months ago, and I sleep a lot better. But that was, that'll turn you into, shoot your cortisol up, and your body will make some sugar real quick for lifting. It'll give you energy. But I get a lot better sleep now. I'm dreaming like I'm in another universe. I'm sleeping really good now. So I think I gave up the coffee like maybe 4 or 5 months ago. I don't know. I still want it, but so I stopped drinking the coffee. So I just started putting a little butter in hot water because I wanted to have something hot to drink. And that gave me energy, and the butter wasn't affecting my insulin, and it was keeping me from being hungry. So that was a good little trick to use for people wanting to lose weight, But if you're trying to gain muscle, I've seen some of your guests, you got to eat more and But every time I seemed like I was eating like 4 steaks a day, but then a lot of it would go back around my gut again. You know, I'd get stronger, but I'd put on more weight around my stomach. But when you lose a lot of weight, you get loose skin, and a little bit of fat fills that skin back out, so it ain't loose. Oh yeah, Dr. Ben Bickman, of course, on his insulin, and he's a fat expert. I'm sure you know him. And I learned from him that you eat fat, it don't affect your insulin, and protein will affect your insulin a little bit, and carbohydrates affect your insulin a whole lot. But if you eat protein and carbohydrates, it's even worse. It's called the glucagon insulin ratio. And if you're eating a lot of carbohydrates, a standard American diet, and then you eat protein, it'll go up from like 4 to 70. But if you're eating a low carb diet, you're down around a 1.3. And when you eat protein, it stays at a 1.3. So the protein has no effect on your glucagon to insulin ratio. And so you're basically fasting all the time. On a carnivore diet, you're basically your body thinks you're fasting all the time because your insulin's low. So you're burning fat, or as long as your insulin's low. If your insulin goes high, that's why fat people are always hungry. If your insulin's high, your body will take that food and it'll throw it into your fat cells. So then your brain is starving, your cells are starving, you're hungry, and so you eat again because your brain's saying, "Hey, I'm starving here, feed me again." So then you're eating carbohydrates every 2 hours. And even if you don't eat, your insulin still stays high for, it took years to become insulin resistant. And some people say it might take a year or two for it to come all the way down. I mean, when you fast, it comes down immediately. So the diabetes and all that symptoms, they went away quickly. You get just by fasting and going carnivore. But as far as if I started eating carbs again, I'd be diabetic again, and I don't know how long it'll take me or if I'll ever be cured from that. But
it's amazing how it resolves so quickly. We're told that you're going to have diabetes forever. Or the best you can do is manage it. But yeah, you fast or you go on an eating plan like carnivore, and it just resolves almost instantly.
I think they know, or some people know. Maybe the doctors don't know because they just don't take the nutritional training, and they've been taught wrong. I mean, when I was younger, I read the nutritional almanac, but even the nutritional almanac was from the same research. I mean, all the grains, you're told to eat the grains, the whole wheat bread, don't eat fat. All the B vitamins are in the grains, the wheat germ, all that stuff and the lectins attaching to your stomach, it's a protein, carbohydrate binding protein. Your body can't break down plant proteins, come to find out. And only your gut bacteria can eat the fiber, so you don't need fiber. And it just causes gas, and bloating, all that. And then there was another doctor, Dr. Thomas Seyfried, and he found out that cancer is really caused by damaged mitochondria, and it seems like the fructose is the biggest thing that's damaging your mitochondria. So it's in everything. So everybody's getting damaged mitochondria. Everybody ends up with cancer, diabetes, all diseases. And even, the root cause of all chronic disease and cancer is the dysfunctional mitochondria. They can't, and then they don't die off. The mitochondria is your energy for your cells, your engine, and they tell your body when to die, like apoptosis, I think it's called, cellular death. And that signal goes off, so they start multiplying, and then they start fermenting the sugar, and those cells get like 200 to 400 times more sugar, they get more insulin receptors and they start sucking in all the sugar and they just ferment on the sugar. So I even had a squashinoma on my chest for a couple years, and it's something else that went away. It just fell off, which is a type of cancer, you know. And so, yeah, this diet's like the magic elixir. I tell everybody that I talk to them all the time, and everybody with the diabetes, everybody's sick with the diabetes. I got a whole lot of people up at the YMCA, and a lot of them are going carnivore. My daughter's on it now. She, one of your guests, had mental problems, and she was bipolar, and she was cycling through this bipolar. So, and my other daughter and granddaughter had PCOS, so I got them all on trying the carnivore, and you just got to have a reason why that makes you cry, and usually you got to be old. You know, I wish I was as young as you when I found out. I would, you know, would have been a lot better.
Yeah, that's awesome that you're getting so many people into it. What's generally what's people's reaction when you talk about it?
I talk too much for one, but they listen, and I mean, with all the research and stuff they've done, and this last lady, Dr. Natasha Campbell McBride, she wrote the Guts Protocol. She's a Russian doctor, and it's basically the same thing. And all these doctors they all come to the same conclusion. You know, regenerative farming is the best, and it's always the seed oils, the grains, and you know, the sugar. You know, but the people at the Y, I had a lady 75 years old. I heard you talking about that, and now she's trying carnivore. And I just explained to them, look, it's what we're eating. You know, you can, in one day, your gut microbiome will change. We got 70 trillion cells, and I learned this from McBride. And they found out 30 years ago that the diet heart hypothesis that Ansel Keys came up with in 52 or whatever, and all that big scam. And they're all in on it. You know, the government's making billions, the food industry, the agriculture's making billions, the pharmaceuticals making billions, the medical industries, they're all making billions. So they don't want people to know this information. And I'm wondering why they even let you on here. And if they ain't gonna you know, trying to make meat illegal. And I thought, well, maybe they're putting them mRNA vaccines in the meat. Maybe they want everybody eating the meat just because they don't want to take their vaccine or something. So I don't hardly believe anything. But and I heard that they were even doing that to the pigs here in America. So you got to take your chances with something. You got to eat. I'm running out of stuff to eat. But I love meat. Ribeyes never get boring, and I get them at a Mexican restaurant, so they're only like $7.99 a pound. Where a hamburger, you know, in some places they're super high, but you don't have to eat that much. I actually saved money on the vegetables at Kroger. I was just spending $400. Now I can spend $400 or $500, fill up my freezer, and I'm never hungry. I always have something to eat. And I usually eat after I work out. After I get back from the gym, I'll eat, and then I'll take a nap, and then I'll wake up and eat again. You know, but if you're trying to lose weight, I think you should eat probably 2 meals a day. You eat 1 meal a day, still.
Typically, yeah.
Yeah, if you start lifting some weights, while you're young, and maybe eat 2 meals a day, but still in a short window. And I don't think it would hurt you. You know, they say this, there's a pyramid of chronic disease. They got obesity, inflammation, and insulin resistance. And you know, insulin resistance just means your insulin's too high. Metabolic illness and disease is your insulin's too high. And when your insulin's high, it throws off like 100 different chemical reactions in your body. It makes you take in too much, or it knocks them down where you ain't getting enough iron, or you ain't getting your magnesium, or, you know, and then all the carbohydrates, they block your zinc. I had a swollen prostate. I had incontinence to where, you know, couldn't go to the bathroom right. And, you know, just everything got better, you know, from, yeah, I might have to go out and find my new girlfriend now. I don't know. But
so just taking a step back, what's the status of the tumor on your pituitary?
Don't know. Still alive. And that was 30. I haven't been back to the doctor for well, I don't know, since the 90s or something. Haven't even been back. But what was a prolactinoma? I was lactating, you know, because prolactin is what women need for when they're breastfeeding. So I was like, what the heck, you know? I was just all messed up. I didn't know. And I always just assume with my sexual problems that was from the brain tumor. And sometimes the drinking would help, you know, with that. So, and that was kind of hit and miss, and it seemed to have gotten better. But when I went on that fast and the carnivore, I mean, sex drive is like 30 years, and all my back pain. When my wife died, I was laying on an ice pack. You know, my back was always hurting, but it was just the inflammation. Inflammation causing all the pain, and the glycation from all the sugar and all my joints, and the leaky gut, and the autoimmune, I guess, arthritis, autoimmune disease. But when I eat the eggs, I'll get it back from, because eggs got that arachidonic acid, and chicken, you need some inflammation, but you don't need no added inflammation. So, but if I eat free range eggs, it don't do that to me. So I'm assuming it's in the what they're feeding it, like the farm raised fish. Don't want to eat that stuff. So I eat wild caught salmon. That's good. Or now I got some cod liver, and because I bought some cod liver oil, I ain't sure. You know, I don't know what they put in the bottles, but the cod liver comes in its own oil. So I'm just eating that cod liver from Iceland for the vitamin A and D. That's really good for your brain. Of course, your ketones, they fire up your brain. You probably got 4 times more mitochondria now than you did on your old diet. So that's why you got more energy, because when you're eating meat and you're in ketosis and you cut out the carbs, you increase the number of your mitochondria 4 times, and they become 4 times more efficient. So you got basically 16 times more energy, and you're aging 4 times slower. So it's like the fountain of youth. And then the fasting, you got autophagy, where when you're fasting, your growth hormone goes up, testosterone goes up, and your autophagy goes up. So your body will start eating. I think that's what happened, my brain tumor, because I had fasted way back when. And when I first found out I had the liver hepatitis and the brain tumor, I fasted for 7 days, you know, like 30 years ago. And I think that's what cured me then, or helped. So then when I went to detox my liver this time from all the beer, that's another reason I was depressed, but another reason why I fasted. And then I found out about the autophagy and all that. And I was like, okay, it eats the cancer. If you fast for 7 days, your chances once a year, your chances of cancer go down 7 times. It eats up the tumors, the worms, the parasites. You ain't feeding them with the sugar. And then any damaged organelles in your cells, your mitochondria are damaged, your body will disassemble that, so you don't lose your muscle protein, and that's why your growth hormone goes up, and then it'll disassemble all that stuff, make amino acids out of them, and then when you do eat again, your cells said, "Hey, I gave you my mitochondria. I need some new ones." Your stem cells, after 3 days, you get brand new baby stem cells. It's just like they're brand new. You make them in your bone marrow, which is high in cholesterol. You think your cells are 30 to 70%, the cell membrane is 30, 70% cholesterol. And 70% of your cell is cell membrane. So your body structurally is made, you've got 70 trillion cells, and they're made of cholesterol, saturated fat, and protein. And your brain is 65% protein and 40% cholesterol. And all your myelin sheaths, if you're a vegetarian, and I was a vegetarian for a while, but it's made, the myelin sheath, which is your insulation for all your electrical, is made of cholesterol, saturated fat. So, and all your sex hormones. So your body wouldn't be making cholesterol if you didn't need it. So the doctors, they're going on a bad hypothesis and bad training on nutrition, and they just give you statins, and then you end up with brain hemorrhage. Statins, the higher your cholesterol is better. In the 70s, 300 was a good range, but they came up with statins like in the 80s. So then they lowered the level to 200, trying to put kids on it, statins, and they make billions of dollars.
Right. Yeah. So how tall are you now? Sorry, how tall are you, and what is your weight now?
I'm about 6 foot now. I shrunk a little bit. And I weighed about 183. I weighed the same much I did when I got out of the Marine Corps. Weigh the same. I guess this is the weight I'm supposed to weigh. So got some muscles. And
nice. So when you're at the Y, or you're talking to friends and someone's interested in doing carnivore, how do you recommend they get started?
I knew you was going to ask that question too. Yeah, I got that from you actually, and I do. How I tell them to get started is it depends on the person, but usually slow down on the carbs, increase your fat and your protein, so you ain't hungry. You know, if you're sick, fasting, OMAD definitely. If you're sick, and OMAD's good no matter what. If you can eat all your food at one time, that's probably the best, because you're always have autophagy, your growth hormone's better, your testosterone's better. But I'll tell them to just cut down the carbs gradually, so you don't get the diarrhea and keto flu or whatever, and slowly increase your fat and meat, and then and maybe go keto first, you know, because everybody's addicted to something, and just going drastically just to meat, it's hard to get people to do that. Like, I'd like to have some pecan pie right now, but I don't want to get sick again. You know, I still think about it, or I'll dream about it, but it's how you still know you got the addiction. You'll still want it, but I don't drink no more. I haven't had any sugar or alcohol for, since for over a year and a half. And, you know, everything's good. What else would I tell them is to don't fear the fat. Watch a Butter Bob on video. Butter makes my pants fall off. He lost like 150 pounds in a year, just eating. You know, he's even got the butter song. His name's Butter Bob, but somebody from England made him the butter song. but you can look him up. But he's like 8 years ago, and I just found him, and I like following all these people, and I suggest that they take notes. Like I got 100 pages of notes from all these doctors, and watch who you listen to and who you believe. And not everybody's got all the answers, or I don't agree with everybody. And I don't know if I mentioned Dr. Kiltz. You probably know him, a fertility expert. And he's like, do not eat. He said, don't eat plants at all because they ferment in your gut. And some people say you need the bugs to eat it. You got to feed your bugs. But I don't know about that because I just ate strictly meat for over a year. And here last week or something, I made some sauerkraut because the Schottenmeyer, and I was like, well, maybe I need some vitamin C because I had hurt my knee. It's another thing when you start to feel young, you think you are. So I was like pressing like 400 pounds and my knees were hurting. My muscles were strong, but my knees were hurting. I ended up tearing my meniscus, helping my daughter change her tire on her car. So be careful, just go at it slow. But if you want, fast. Just if you don't eat for a couple of days and you got an addiction, that's how you get over the addiction. You just stop. And if you got if you're a moderator, or you got to, just quit cold turkey like we did. I know you quit drinking and you just can't take a drink. Sometimes you just got to. I really wasn't. I didn't think I was a sugar addict, but I was definitely. I like oats and bread and beer, so I guess I was a sugar addict. Didn't know it. And I like fruits and bananas, but I really wasn't. I liked healthy food. But even the healthy food, we're really not designed to eat that. It's like in Noah, I believe, a lot of people believe we were monkeys and all that. But I think, but even the Noah story, after the flood, God said, eat the meat. Eat the meat. He said, that'll be meat for you, because maybe I think all the good topsoil after the flood went to the bottom of the ocean, and then the plants are all poisonous and the earth is cursed or whatever. So I believe that most of them plants, most plants have lectins and pesticides, insecticide, and all the oxalates. And so I just try to stay away from them. But I will eat I got a sauerkraut, and I'll eat a couple spoonfuls of that just to get some vitamin C, and I'll put some lemon in my water, and maybe some bone broth. And that's what I'll tell people to do. And I'll just tell them, do it for 30 days. You can do anything for 30 days, and do it slowly. And that's about it.
How would you address the claim that carnivore is restrictive? What would you say to that?
Yeah, if you like pies and pizzas, it can be restrictive, but after you start eating this way for a while, I don't know. I look forward to eating a steak. The steak is always good, and I pour the fat on top of after I'll cut off the fat, put it in there, and it's like everything else is restrictive. Your whole life being sick and fat and diabetes and having heart problems. Well, I would almost pass out a couple of times, or I'd have asthma so bad that I couldn't breathe for a couple minutes and be like, or I'd have ischemic attacks or whatever they call it, where you're passing out and blood flows, just being unhealthy. I'm 66 now. I can walk as long as my knees or something ain't hurting. I don't get tired. I could swim all day long, and I can go without food. I don't think about food at all. And but then when I do eat, I'll eat whatever I want and whenever I want. But if you're trying to work out, you might want to increase your meals. But but to be healthy, I think it's better to OMAD. What you're doing is probably the best thing. just eat a whole bunch.
So, Monty, is there a way people can reach out to you? Do you have any social media or any way of getting in contact?
Nah, no, no, I don't have anything like that. Actually, this is my daughter's computer. She just got. Uh, I just watch YouTube, take notes, talk to people at the gym.
Monty, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me on, Dave. I like your show. Like I say, I watch your show probably 2 or 3 times. I don't know how many of these you do a day, but I watch 2 or 3 of them a day. You know, you're awesome, and all your guests. You know, it's pretty cool. I can't believe I even did this, but this information needs to get out there as long as the government still lets you do it.